Hello, welcome back. I'm Julianne and this is my quest to read every single unread book that I have on my shelves. If you are new here, you might want to check out some of the earlier videos on my channel. At the very least, I would suggest watching my most recent rule change video because that is sort of a summary of where I'm at now and where I've gone before, so you will be up to date and able to enjoy all future videos. Today I am kicking off this month's vlog. I will tell you what I've read already and what I'm currently reading and any thoughts I have about this month's reading. So last month was a super successful month. I read 8 books from my TBR and only 4 books that were not from my TBR, which is how it should be. I'm aiming for a 2-to-1 ratio there. I started this month with a few books on my currently reading pile, the first one of which is the only book I finished so far. But oh, what a good book it was, and that is An Island of Our Own by Sally Nicholls. The actual title is on the back of this because it's a proof that I got in 2015 or possibly even 2014 because this book came out in April 2015, so I would have had it a few months in advance. I don't know why it took me so long to read this. I think it's just sheer number of books on my shelf. The more books that I have acquired, the harder I found it to keep up with books that are just coming out, and when I've been given proof copies, it's been sort of toss up whether I'll read it right away or whether I'll read it in 5 to 8 years time. Possibly even 10. There we go. This has been on my shelf for 10 years. Can you believe it? Absolutely ridiculous. But I'm so glad I read it. And actually, you know what? Some people say that you read the right book at the right time, and I feel like this was really the right time for me to read this because last month I read some books by Noel Streatfeild, and I feel like this book is a modern Noel Streatfeild book, maybe aimed at slightly older readers, but it just really had those vibes for me. The family in the book don't have very much money, they're struggling, and they set out on a quest, and they will have their different passions and interests, and I just loved it so much. I will definitely be treasuring this proof copy for years to come, and I should probably read some other books by Sally Nicholls now. I think this is the only one I've read. I definitely have another one of hers on my TBR, but beyond that I will have to track them down from the library and elsewhere as ruled books because I want to read them. It's always good when you discover a potential new favourite author, even if it took you 10 years to get to that point. So in my rule change, I said that one of my rules is that I have to have 2 non-fiction books on the go at any one time, a meatier one and a lighter one. And my meatier one is still Happy City. I have not made very much progress with this, I have to be honest. I haven't really put the time in to get very far. I think I'm 2 chapters in maybe. I think at the start of last month I was only 1 chapter in, so yeah. I have made progress, just not very much. I'm expecting that with these meatier non-fiction books, finishing them kind of takes me by surprise. I just read little bits here and there, really savour it, take in all the information, and then, oh, I'm at the end suddenly. And my lighter non-fiction book is Style on a Shoestring, a guide to conspicuous thrift. So this is a book that was published in 1984, and it is a guide to thrift shopping, basically. Charity shopping, jumble sales, acquiring clothes secondhand as they did it in the 80s. It is really fun as a kind of cultural history. It goes into a lot of detail about the care of fabrics, clothing repairs and things like that. But there is one thing about it that makes me full of jealousy, so incredibly jealous, and that is the author just casually mentions all the time throughout the book buying 40s, 30s, even 20s dresses second-hand in quite cheap shops, and the prices, it's a few pounds maximum. And I know currency has massively changed, you know. What was a few pounds back then is probably quite a bit more now, but still. Just the availability of these things and how casually they were treated, you know. I've read books before that were either set in, if they're fiction, or are from those kind of time periods, and just the casual way in which they buy what we would consider antiques and wear them to death. I just think how many of those clothes just ended up in landfill or not properly cared for. It's just tragic. It hurts to think about it, but yeah. I can live vicariously through the author of this book. I can. Yeah, very jealous, but fun. I actually bought this online. How I came across this book is quite random. I think I saw someone post a picture of it on Instagram, and they were saying how much they were enjoying it and how like a blast from the past it was, and it's just fun to read like a book that itself is vintage, about vintage dress shopping. And I decided I wanted a copy. I bought a copy, and then the sale got cancelled because the seller discovered the copy was in such poor condition they didn't want to sell it. And so then I had to basically wait until another copy became available. I didn't pay like loads of money for it. I think I only paid a few pounds, but you know, it's not like a highly desirable volume or anything like that. But it did take a little bit of patience for me to get it. So yeah, I am thinking that as well as my books where people reflect on their own clothing choices collection, I might have a little charity shop history section as well. I've got another book that's about charity shopping, but I think it might be from the 90s. Or very early 2000s. So yeah, maybe those two are starting off a new collection for me. Anyway, it is quite interesting to read lots of like clothing care advice, especially as it refers to a lot of fabrics that you'd never hear of these days, like there's brand names that just don't seem to be a thing anymore. That's quite interesting and intriguing, and I wonder if this book would actually be a really good reference for people looking at 80s clothes, because a lot of those brand names are probably from then, and so it might be quite helpful for somebody to have this book as a guide when they're doing that kind of shopping. And then finally, after I read An Island of Our Own, I started The Miseducation of Cameron Post. I've had this for ages. I think I got it second hand off a friend, and it's just sat there on my bookshelf and I've never picked it up, and it is very long. Like, this book is mega. It is like, here we are, 470 pages of story long. There's like 2 pages of acknowledgements at the back. Long. So yeah, I can see why I have put it off so long, but I am now, where are we, 50 pages in, which isn't bad, and not bad, I think. And also, hilariously, I found this bookmark of Emma Bunton. It's a Spice Girls bookmark from an Easter egg, I think. I think it was like on the back of the Easter egg box, you cut out bookmarks for every single Spice Girl, and I found a couple of them whilst doing a clear out, and I just thought, yeah, that's funny. And every time I see her little face, her little head and shoulders poking out of this book, I laugh. It just amuses me, what can I say? So there we go. I am aiming to read as many books as possible. I'm actually getting such a kick out of reading the books off my TBR now that I'm like doing kind of 2 at a time before getting a reward book. It's just fun. I read a book, there's space on my shelf, I go and fill it in with something off the floor. What I really need to do is to clear at least the front of one of these squares of my Kallax, so that I can put in books that I've read from the previous month that I do want to keep, because I actually have nowhere to put them right now. So they are staying in the pile until I've made some space. I was just really determined to get all the books off the floor and off random piles on my desk and things, so they were all actually on there, because I thought that would be really satisfying. And it is. I just now need to read some more of them to make space. So there we go. Read enough that I have enough that I don't want to keep, that I can make space. That totally makes sense, doesn't it? Brilliant. All right, I will update you again probably in a couple of days with how I get on with the Miseducation of Cameron Post, if I finish any of those other books I mentioned. Happy City seems like a long shot, but you never know. I might finish Style on a Shoestring. Now I'm going to go for a walk and then probably sit down and read some more. Hello, it is now the 11th of April and I am here sitting on the floor in the bedroom in front of the door in order to have a different background to my bookcase and tell you what I have been reading. So I was, as I told you, going to try and finish the Miseducation of Cameron Post, but then something happened. I had a few library books that I got from the young adult section of my local library a while back, and I've been slowly working through them all, but I had one left, the Yearbook by Bourne, and I was planning to get to it after the Miseducation of Cameron Post to finally set myself free from these library books that had been hanging over me for a while. I ran out of renewals, and I can renew books like 12 times, so I'm thinking, have I had this a whole year? Have I had this a whole year? I don't feel like I've had this a whole year. Maybe it's only 10 renewals or something. But anyway, I couldn't renew this anymore. So I had to read it. And I did. And I really, really enjoyed it. It really brought me in to the story. So it's about this girl called Paige who doesn't have any friends. She used to have a friend a while back, but for reasons that we don't find out until halfway through the book, at least, she is no longer friends with this girl. And she basically lives a pretty miserable life of going to school where she just tries to keep her head down and not attract any attention, and then has to go through the same thing at home because her dad has extreme anger issues. He's abusive, he can flip suddenly, his moods are really unreliable, and she doesn't feel loved at all. She just wants to be as unnoticeable as possible so that her life can be stable and steady and she doesn't have to be scared. Obviously this does not work out in the nature of such things. Anyway, in her loneliness and misery and desperation, she starts writing in books that she borrows from the school library the words "I exist" and sometimes some other notes, and then she discovers that there's someone else who has done the same thing. They have also written "I exist" in their books, and so she kind of decides that she wants to try and work out who that person was and starts writing the messages. At the same time, she is in the school newspaper. She's one of the editors, and she gets roped into also working on the school yearbook, which is being run, or rather misrun, by these three popular girls who are really horrible. I found this kind of quite difficult to read in places because it sent me right back to being at school, but if that's not the mark of a good story, what is, especially with YA, UK YA, where the experience is so close to my own. So yeah, I loved this, would highly recommend. But yeah, to get to that point, I'm having to go back on myself. I've done this totally out of order. In order to be able to read this, to be allowed to read this as per my plan, I had to read something short and quick. So I picked up the Ladybird book of Mindfulness, which I think someone got me as a gift a while back, and you know, these little silly parody gift books can be hit or miss. I really loved 5 Go on an Away Day from the sort of famous 5 as Adults parody series. I really loved that one. 5 on Brexit Island, not so much. That was, you know, kind of one joke taken a bit too far, but yeah, 5 Go on a Strategy Away Day, I think that's what it's called. Yeah, that was excellent. That was excellent, especially when the Secret 7 turn up and they have a rivalry with them. Like, the inadvertent in-jokes, just, yeah, chef's kiss. Anyway, back to the Ladybird book of Mindfulness. I did laugh at this. It was a very quick read because it's tiny. There are like 52 pages and the text is like that. But yeah, I really also appreciated the pictures they chose from Ladybird books of the past. Like, some of them are just so delightfully surreal that you're like, how did that just fit into a Ladybird book the normal way? You know, it makes sense in this ridiculous connection, but yeah. Anyway, I enjoyed that. So there we are. That's where I am now. Now I can get back to the Miseducation of Carolyn Post. Excited to do that. And yeah, take this book back to the library along with the one that I borrowed for book club last month. And yeah, be free and attempt not to give in to temptation in the library. There are a couple of things that I really want to read though. I might be tempted to look around while I'm there. I mean, it's fine because I'll borrow them and they'll auto-renew, and then eventually they'll be my reward book. But there are other things I want to do as reward books, so yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that works out. I really don't want to say no. I'm not going to borrow anything from the library, but I mean, I am going to borrow something from the library because I also have to pick up Hold while I'm there, and then I have to put Hold on another book to borrow it for book club. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I will update you probably tomorrow or the day after because it is about to be the weekend. Now I must get back to work. Hello, it is Sunday the 20th of April and I have a new obsession. Sock curls. I've been trying these out. I think I'm slowly getting better. First of all, I tried just doing the sock, like starting here, but it didn't give me anywhere near as much bounce as this has. So I'm getting it and working it out. And also doing it up here, I found more comfortable because I didn't have socks pressing on the back of my neck. Hair-filled socks. which was actually really uncomfortable when I tried it. But anyway, I am here today in this slightly awkward position because there is now a box full of magazines behind me. My mum brought some more stuff around from her house, from my childhood bedroom, to clear out. This is very exciting, this box, actually, because it contains things like this jewellery making booklet from a jewellery making kit that I had as a kid and spent a lot of time looking at and fantasising about and not actually making anything from. And also, I have a few Art Attack magazines. Again, a thing that I spent a lot of time as a kid looking at, fantasising about and not actually making anything from. So yeah, I'm going to go through them as an adult and see if there's anything I want to make for the fun. But at the same time, books. I haven't abandoned the book project entirely, and another obsession along with sock curls is DNFing. I would say in the last month I have DNF'd more books than I ever have in any other month in my life. I've never been a very big DNF'er. I find that in the past most books that I picked up intrigued me enough to keep reading them. But I think that's because I wasn't really trying to get down my TBR. I think that because of that I was picking the books I wanted to read most of my TBR and not the ones that just somehow snuck their way onto there. Like I'd pick them up because they were free. And yeah. So yeah, now I am like more deliberately trying to get down my TBR, and I'm picking stuff a bit more randomly, so that because I'm allowed to have multiple things on the go. I have been finding books that I don't actually want to read. I've been picking books up and giving them a go. Sometimes I've fallen in love with them. Other times I have realised after a few pages I'm not into it. Other times it's taken me 50, 100 pages to decide that. And yeah, it's great. I'm not going to talk about any books that I'm DNFing on here because I want it to be a positive space and to devote my time to books that I enjoyed. But yeah, I have been getting through some books on my TBR by DNFing them. I don't get any points for DNFing. It has occurred to me that maybe there should be some kind of DNF reward, like I get to, I don't know, put £1 in a jar for every book that I DNF, but it's too late. I'm not allowed to do a rule change until the end of this 50 books, and who knows, this may just be like a short wave of DNFing. Anyway, books I haven't DNF'd, I finally finished reading The Miseducation of Cameron Post. Now, this actually took me several weeks to finish reading, and I think the reason is because for such a large period of the book, there's this huge sense of foreboding. It's about a girl who is kind of relieved when her parents die in a car crash, because then at least they won't find out that she was kissing her friend Irene. And she manages to hide her relationships with girls for a while. But I know from the blurb and also from like the film trailer, which I think I saw years ago, that she ends up going to sort of camp to try and reform kids out of being gay. And so I was kind of reading the first few parts of this, nervously expecting for it all to come crashing down, waiting for the moment of doom. And so that didn't make it like a relaxing book that I wanted to pick up before bed. So I was only really reading this like in the morning and the early afternoon and not reading it in the evening until I got to the point where the doom happened. And then after that, because I was no longer waiting for this sort of great period of foreboding to come to a conclusion, I could read it anytime I wanted. So I did, and I enjoyed it. I think it was a brilliant book. It's really literary. If you like really neat conclusive endings, probably not the one for you, but it is beautifully written and just really drew me into the main character's world. So yeah, would strongly recommend. The other book I finished reading was one of a possible 3 books I picked out to take to my sister's house while I was waiting to have a hair and makeup trial for her wedding, which is coming up later this year. And yeah, I grabbed 3 shorter books because I thought then I might finish one. And if I finish one, then I might feel motivated to finish another, and it give me options, because I honestly did not know what I was in the mood for. I did pick up one, read like 1 page, and then put it down. I didn't DNF it, I just didn't feel like it was the time and place to be reading that book. And then I picked up The Driver's Seat by Muriel Spark. Now this, I cannot talk about this book without spoiling it, because it is really, really interesting, and I would love to discuss this with anybody who has read it. But if I say anything about it, I will spoil it. I think I'm just going to have to read the blurb, or part of the blurb. Lee's driven to distraction by an office job, leaves everything and flies south on holiday in search of what? And then it just says this some stuff, and then says, but Lisa's creators, Muriel Spark, writing from the height of her achievement. If infinity and eternity attend Lisa's last terrible day in the unnamed southern city. That tells you absolutely nothing about it, I'm afraid. And that is wise, because if they said anything again, it would spoil it. So yeah. I also love this cover. I love this picture, this portrait of this woman on the front. Like, I think this is a illustration. It looks to me like coloured pencil. But yeah, it's brilliant. Yeah, really, really interesting book. Desperate to discuss it with some people. If you have read this, please tell me in the comments, because I need to talk about it. And but I'm stuck because I don't know anybody else who's read this. I might take this to my book club and like try and persuade some other people to borrow this and read it so that I can discuss it with them. Yeah, that's probably what I'm going to have to do. So yeah, I'm now between books. I still have Happy City on the go, and I have actually started a audiobook. I can't remember the title right now, and I've not got my phone with me. It's in the other room charging for me to take it to the gym. So I'm not going to be able to tell you what that's called at the moment, but I will tell you in the next update when I will probably have finished it. It's going to be a reward book for these two. If not the two after, I think. I might not read it this week. I might leave it until I'm back at work next week, because I'm on leave from work this week. So yeah, I might leave it till then and read something else as my reward book, actually. Thinking out loud here, thinking out loud, clearly. I also have a library book that I want to read. It's Your Wedding, a step-by-step guide down the aisle. It's a big presumption that I'm going to have an aisle at my wedding, right? But yeah, I put this little book on wedding planning because I thought it might be quite useful, and challenge me to think about some things that I might have otherwise not thought about, might have forgotten to think about, might, yeah, ignore till the last minute. I thought it might be useful. So yeah, that could be my next reward book. I've also got a graphic novel that I requested from NetGalley. Yeah, lots of options for reward books, but yeah, I need to start like a new like paperback fiction book because I don't have any of those on the go at the moment. Actually, no, I tell a lie, I do have one. So currently I am partway through using a train ticket as a bookmark because I completely failed to bring a bookmark with me to my sister's house. This is The Vagabond by Colette, which is about a recently divorced 33-year-old woman who is living on her own and working as a vaudeville performer and considering possibly getting married again. For the financial security. Sounded very interesting. It is apparently one of the first and best feminist novels ever written. I picked this up after I finished The Driver's Seat, but I am only on page 10. So yeah, didn't get very far into it that day, but yeah, hopefully I will get to read some more of that soon. I do want to find like a young adult book to read. I did start one today and DNF it, and then I found a adult lighter book to read and I DNF'd that one as well. So yeah, I have DNF'd 2 books in one day, which I feel is almost an achievement, except for the fact that I did this earlier in the week as well. I think I DNF'd 2 books in one day then. So yeah, as I say, I'm on a DNF roll. I've never been this decisive for books I'm reading ever before in my life, but yeah, it's good. I need to reduce the books somehow, no matter how. It doesn't, you know, like it would be lovely if I read and enjoyed every single book, but I'll take a DNF. So there we go. We have 10 more days left in the month. Let's hope that I can get some more reading done, and you will see me again when I update you on that. So it turns out this is going to be a bit of a shorter vlog than last month because April is now over, it is May, and I am here to tell you about the last couple of books I read and do my tally. Spoilers, it's not quite as magnificent as the March one, but I'm still pleased with how everything worked out. So after my last update, I made a bit of a random pickup. I saw this book in a book box being given away for free, and I thought to myself, I just can't resist. I need to have that. And that was Looking for Captain Poldark by Rowan Coleman. So this is a quick read, so I knew I would be in and out of it quite quickly. I would read it and then I'd be able to give it away, put it back into the Freebox ecosystem, as it were. And also I read the blurb and I couldn't resist it. It is about a woman who goes on a road trip with other fans of the TV show Poldark. Now, if you follow me on social media, you know that I loved / hated Poldark, right? I loved Demelza's hair. I loved Demelza. I loved the other woman who had the pug, the like wealthy heiress who ends up with a doctor who has a pug. Loved her. Loved many of the side characters, in fact. Brilliant. Poldark himself, what a knob. The best bit in the entire show is when Demelza finds out that he cheated on her and she punches him in the face. And I ran my back and watched it so many times. I had the GIF saved before there was like GIF searches. Now I probably can't find it on a GIF search, but hey, I had the GIF saved so that whenever I was annoyed by a situation, I could share the Demelza face punch. I once wrote a thing on Twitter about how Poldark and, God, who was it? Some other character with the same annoying man who just like has such a hero complex that he keeps abandoning his wife and children to put himself in mortal danger, despite the fact that in the historical period they are in, the wife and children will be plunged into poverty without them. Like the just obsession with themselves as being this hero figure is just deeply irritating. Anyway, so yeah, love hate Poldark. Loved this book. It was so cute, so much fun, and also really real and down to earth. And the characters have just gone through some stuff, right? And the way that this has affected their lives and their interactions when they meet each other, but they still have this big thing in common that they all love, and that helps them kind of work through it a bit and make plans for the future. And yeah, just find community with each other. Absolutely lovely, so cute. I kind of want to keep it, but then I'm like, I want other people to read this book. So yeah, maybe I'll see if I can get an e-copy or something like that. So that was that one. Then I read, as a reward book, Florrie, a football love story, which I got from NetGalley. This is about how successful women's football was before it was banned by the FA. After World War One, women's football was super popular. They were mainly running games for charity, and they were using the same football grounds that the men's clubs ran, but women's football was actually more popular in a lot of cases than men's. And they were even playing like international tournaments, like they would go over and play French teams, and French teams would come here and play, and like it was this big whole thing. And then the FA decided that it was too popular and they would ban it, under the guise of a lot of like really spurious health claims, like it would make women like infertile to play it, it was bad for their constitutions, etc, etc. So this book is about a character, Florrie. There's a sort of frame story where a narrator discovers these items belonging to her great aunt in the loft, and wonders why she never told her that she was into football. Basically, she finds her football boots and things like that, and some photographs. But the bulk of the book is about Florrie herself and how she discovers a bunch of other girls playing football, gets involved with them, and ends up becoming part of this team that is a bit of a big deal. And of course, you know that it's all going to come to an end, and when it does, it's really tragic, and it leads to Florrie making some difficult choices. And yeah, but while it's good, it's incredible. There's so much joy. Florrie falls in love with a French football player, and it's just really, really lovely. Just an ending that's not really bittersweet so much as just bitter and kind of sad and disappointing, but at the same time lovely that, you know, we're now revisiting this history and stories about this period, and the people involved are being told. Then I finished my final book of the month, which was How to Find Love in a Bookshop by Veronica Henry. This basically does exactly what it says on the tin. It's sort of a ensemble locale story about a woman who inherits the bookshop from her father after he passes away, and decides that she is going to keep it running, and all the stuff that happens to her and a whole bunch of other characters who visit the bookshop, some for good, some for slightly more nefarious purposes, some just having a bad time, and all the relationships that form and change and the love that happens around that. It was just very, very, very cute. I'd say it's a great like piece of escapist fiction if you are in a bad mood. This is just such a lovely, easy one to slip into. You'll have a great time. So there we go. It is time for the tally. Drum roll, please. Drum roll, please. Come on. Are you doing a drum roll? Are you doing this with your hands? Because you better. So I will start with the lower two numbers first. So this month I read one library print book. That was the Yearbook. And I read one book from NetGalley. That was Florrie. And a total of, drum roll, please. You better be doing your drum roll. Go on, do it with me now. 6 TBR books. Woo-hoo! So yeah, pretty good. I'm really, really happy with that. As I say, I only finished 2 award books this month. That was because I'd started a couple, and so I didn't want to start any more. Otherwise, I felt like I'd kind of get away from everything, and it would all kind of come on top of me. And before I knew it, I would be in a award book debt. But yeah, it was good. I'm really pleased with how it's going, and I am really excited for the rest of May and to find out how many books I can manage to read then. I think in April I DNF'd 4 books. I have given some away already, so I've not been tracking them so much, but I think that's what I ended up doing. I feel like once I have got to a point where I can count all my unread books, that I will have a spreadsheet and I will count DNFs on there. But for now, I just have to make do with my guesswork. So thank you so much for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you'd like to see more from me and my TBR journey. Leave me a comment if you've read any of these books, or if you'd like to update me on how your TBR is going, or if you just want to say hello, that's cool too. I accept all comments. Except rude ones. Obviously, rude ones will be deleted. No doubt about that. But yeah, that should be expected by this point, I believe. Anyway, thank you again. You'll see me again soon. Bye!